Okay, that's great. So I'm going to now introduce our guests. All right. So I mean, to be honest with you, those of you in the Tableau community who know anything about Tableau um, will know that these people, to use that old adage, don't really need much of an introduction. Sarah Bartlett, on a personal level. So I've been working with the Information Lab Ireland, who are hosting this event for the guts of 5 years now at this stage. And from the beginning, when I first sent out a tweet to a blog from our account, I think I tagged Sarah in this because I knew that Sarah was a big player in the Tableau community in the UK, and she has been retweeting my tweets, or the tweets from the Information Lab, ever since. So I'm always very grateful to her for the contributions that she makes to the community, and everything that she does outside of the work that she does for Slalom in London. So she looks after BI and analytics for that company in London, and she is a 2-time Zen master. So she has quite the pedigree. I'll let you tell her more about yourself when she comes on board in a few minutes. Her colleague today, or her co-presenter today, is Klaus Schulte, who actually, she reminded me, beat Sarah at the Iron Viz competition in Europe in 2018, I think it was. It's one of the few times that Germany actually beat England at something. It's something that she has admitted she's not quite over yet, but they have become firm friends and they work together very well. And I'm sure this presentation will be fantastic. I'll tell you a little bit about Klaus. Klaus is a 3-time Tableau Zen master. And he professionally is a professor of management accounting at the Münster School of Business. He teaches everything about finance and that kind of thing, but also incorporates Tableau into his teaching. So the two of them are going to go through how Tableau can be used around finance data today. And we're looking forward to it, and we hope that it's going to be very insightful. At this stage, it's 11:37. You've had plenty of talk from me. So I think without further ado, I'm going to go on mute. Everybody will be delighted to hear. And I'm going to hand it over to Sarah to begin today's presentation. Thank you very much. Any questions, please put them into the chat and we'll feed them at the end. Take it away, Sarah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Johnny. Just bear with me while I share my screen. Let me know if you can see it okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on, Sarah. Looking great.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today. Today we're going to be talking around Zen mastering financial data. So before I begin, I just want to introduce Klaus. Klaus is a Tableau Zen master, as you've heard, and he's professor of management accounting at the Münster University of Applied Sciences in Germany. As you heard, also Klaus is a former Iron Viz champion. So yes, he did beat me in Iron Viz, but it was an amazing experience and I have no hard feelings at all. But if you know about Klaus, Klaus is like the go-to person when it comes to financial data in the Tableau community. If I've got any questions around visualizing financial data, I always go to Klaus. And you're in for a real treat today in what he's going to present. He's been sharing blog posts for many years on Tableau and solutions of finance data. He always comes up with these innovative ways of kind of getting around some of the hurdles and the challenges that financial data presents us with. Klaus has a blog, VizJockey, and more recently he set up his own consultancy, which is CO Data, where he focuses on providing clients with data visualization, data engineering, and training to finance professionals around the globe. I'm really honored to be presenting with Klaus today. Klaus, do you want to intro me?
So am I, Sarah. Thank you for your kind introduction. Also, Johnny, thank you for your introduction. And it's really great to meet you all here today at the Island TAC. And I think while we all love data, my co-speaker Sarah loves data in particular. And to introduce her very shortly, so Johnny already talked about the main things. She's not only a 2-time Tableau Zen master, I don't know how many times Tableau ambassador, and a former Iron Viz finalist. She's also leading the Iron Quest initiative and is an inaugural member of Tableau's Equity Task Force. Like Johnny already said, she works as a consultant at Slalom in London And I think it's fair to say that she represents the Tableau community like no other. And therefore, of course, I'm thrilled and excited to share this virtual stage with Sarah here today. Okay, so the topic is financial data. As you all know, I'm a little bit excited about financial data, and therefore, Sarah, please, could you tell us what this session will be about? And then I will take over later and demo some of the solutions that I always use in my financial data use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the introduction, Klaus. So in this presentation, we're going to show you how you can use Tableau to create visuals that help companies get faster insights from their financial data, all whilst maintaining that data accuracy, transparency, and accessibility. So in my role as a BI consultant at Slalom, I work with lots of clients, and I've worked on lots of projects alongside finance teams who've attempted to visualize their data in Tableau. Quite often they say, great, we've got Tableau, now we can visualize all of our financial data. And what I've noticed from this is that financial people love tables. So they're really hard to win over when it comes to actually providing something more visual. Traditionally, you see annual reports and financial statements. They have very well documented principles and policies and procedures that are really important, and it's to ensure that integrity and the common understanding and the practice of organizing and presenting financial data. So that results in these tables that have a common format that are fit for review for auditors, shareholders and stakeholders alike. But the problem with these reports, just like the one you see on the screen here from Larry's Landscaping and Garden Supply, is that it can be difficult to gain insights from them when you're just presented with a table full of numbers. It's just looking at this table alone, I have to kind of scan it with my eyes to see kind of where the bigger numbers are, or the smaller values. There's nothing really kind of springing out of that view. So, you know, we thought using Tableau, wouldn't it be great if there was a way we could maintain those conventional standards of financial statements whilst presenting that data in a more meaningful or visual way? So where do we start? So first of all, we're going to start talking about tables and things that you can do to actually make your tables more visual. And let's not forget, a table is a form of data visualization in itself. And there's really no getting away from tables in the finance world as much as we may want to. And there's also long established reporting formats that I mentioned that we may sometimes perceive as boring, but they are really important. And finance professionals often do need their data presented in a tabular form. So we shouldn't really neglect their needs. If we did that and just said, you know, no more tables, there's a chance that they would just ignore Tableau entirely and maybe go back to old ways of reporting and things like Excel. So we really want to help them, and one of the ways that we can help them is to make the tables more visual. And one thing that we can use to do that is to introduce pre-attentive attributes. So I have the common like pre-attentive attributes on the screen here, but essentially what pre-attentive attributes are there ways to visualize our data to help our brains interpret the data more easily and faster. So we can use things like color and size and shape and things like that, things we commonly use in data visualization to really bring that data to life and help draw out things that are important so we can get that insight very quickly. It's quite rare to see that kind of technique applied to finance data though. So sometimes we may see size or like bolded text or different colors in text, but beyond that, it's very rare to see any of these other techniques applied to tables. That doesn't mean to say it can't be done. So just as an example here, I've got a table with lots of numbers in it. If I said to you, count the sevens, I'm not going to ask you to do this. If you want to do it, feel free. But if I ask you to count the sevens in this table, you're going to be here a while. There's nothing visual about this table. We're not using any pre-attentive attributes to really bring those sevens to life. Now, if I show you the table again with the sevens highlighted in a different color, you can see that they're much easier to read. If anyone's wondering, I think there's 19 sevens, so just in case you were counting them. But you can see here, just using color alone really helps to bring that data to life. Now, if we talk through some examples of things that you can do to tables before we go into the more complex methods, Luke Stanke, who's also a Zen master, has gone through, I think he provided something like 25 different techniques in a recent blog of his of how you can add and utilize pre-attentive attributes in tables. So I've got 4 examples here that I want to show you that are all really simple and things that you could go away and apply today. So the first one is you could apply a heat map to give a sense of scale. So here in this example, we see that the margin percentage is shown in a different color range from a negative number to a positive number. So you're going from a yellow to a darker green. So instantly we can see here that the binders is standing out because it's the most negative value in that table. You could also add a spark line. So in this case, we're showing an actual trend of revenue by month, and we're also highlighting the lowest and the highest points. So it's really simple to see where we had the highest and lowest revenue. This can be really powerful if your users want to see a table, but they also want to see trends at the same time. And it's a technique that I quite often incorporate into my work with my clients. Another thing you could do is add a progress bar. So you could show how you're performing versus a target. And in this, where the target is on the bar, and we're also color coding the bar to show if it's above or below the target. And again, that really helps bring that data to life, and you can instantly see the areas where you're either above or below that target. And finally, another technique you can incorporate is using Unicode characters or ASCII characters. So you can actually add those triangles and color code them to show if your, in this case, revenue is up or down versus the previous period. You would actually do that using, you could add that to your actual number formatting in Tableau. So you can include that ASCII symbol there because it's classed as text. These are just, you know, a few simple techniques that you can do in your tables in Tableau to help bring that data to life. If you want to see an example of where all of this comes together, this is an example I've taken from Tableau Public by Ludovic Tanvanier, who he himself actually participated in IronViz Global a couple of years back. And Ludovic has some excellent workbooks on his Tableau Public profile, and this is just an example of one of them where it's essentially a table, but he's added all of these visual elements. So you can see the segments are color coded, you have that kind of progress versus target bar, and what I really love about this view is that his filters are actually bar charts, so you can actually get a sense of scale by looking at these. So we can see, for example, 2019 had the most values, and we can see also the months as well to see which months perhaps had the highest values. But this is kind of bringing all those techniques together. Now, if you are interested in doing some of this, I can share some links at the end to some blog posts that talk you through how to achieve these things in Tableau. But this was built in Tableau. He's just utilized it in a way that's very different to how we would usually use Tableau for tables. Unfortunately, though, it's not always straightforward to recreate the type of tables we typically use in the finance sector in Tableau. And let's look at some examples of financial reports, and I'll explain why. So here we go back to this is the example of a profit and loss statement from Alphabet Inc., who are the parent company of Google. So a profit and loss statement shows the company's revenues and expenses during a particular period. And in this example, the report covers a 3-year period from 2017 to 2019. Now, we always read a P&L statement from the top to the bottom, starting with the revenue, minus any costs and expenses, and ending with the net profit. And as you can see in this table, there's a series of subtotals and calculations that help us get to that net profit calculation at the bottom. I have another example here. This one is an income statement, or also known as a profit and loss statement from Daimler, who are also better known as Mercedes-Benz, from their 2018 annual report. And here we're showing the current value for 2018 versus the prior year value for 2017. And looking at this example, we can see a mix of 2 methods available to create P&L statements. In a single step statement, costs and expenses are extracted from revenues to calculate the net income. And against it, there are several subtotals in the multi-step profit and loss statement. And in this example, we see subtotals for 2 categories, so the gross profit and the profit before income taxes, but no subtotals for the remaining income and expense categories. And before thinking about how we can improve the presentation of profit and loss statements, it's important to say that there are official regulations in place from authorities like the FASB or the IASB that operate internationally. That means that, you know, if we are going to do any kind of non-standard reporting like what we're going to show you today, it's only possible for voluntary reporting purposes to supplement the official communication. Unfortunately, there's no getting away from this formal kind of reporting of financial data because it is simply required for legal purposes. But anyway, so since the P&L statement is simply just a table like you see here, why is it so hard to visualize? You'd think that it would be easy, right? So let's have a look. So first thing we've done here is added a bar chart to actually just show those values as you normally would in a bar chart against the different lines of the P&L statement. First problem we hit is a scale challenge. So this is using the Daimler example, and here the scale is set by the highest value, which is normally the revenue at the top line. However, the most important value is usually the net profit, which is the very bottom line, which is rather small compared to the revenue. Daimler, for example, had a return on sales of 4.5% in 2018, but saw a decrease in net profit of almost 30%, which is quite a decline. And compared to revenue, this decline appears, in this example, it doesn't really appear to be that spectacular. And also, if you have a look, you can see really tiny bars below the gross profit that are really hard to see and really don't provide us with much insight. Essentially, everything looks really small in comparison to the revenue. So we could try instead using a waterfall chart. So waterfall charts are often recommended as good ways of visualizing financial data. However, we have exactly the same scaling problem with this chart, and we can still see that net income or net profit line at the bottom is, and the bar associated with it is very small. So how about if we just looked at the relative changes? So here we go, we're just using bars to show whether the relative change was positive or negative. And again, we're having similar problems, but in this case, the scale is set by the other financial income or expenses bar. And the other more important positions like gross profit are completely flying under the radar. So what can we do? So we've noticed there's a couple of problems that we have with finance data, and it has some unique characteristics that we don't often see in other departments. Finance data is often time boxed, where we look at time periods separately, or where statements only provide a month to date, quarter to date, or year to date view of the data. It's not how we'd usually show data in other sectors, where we show month-on-month change or just trends over time. And also, accounting data is often hierarchical. For example, in the P&L examples I've shown you, the gross profit is made up of the revenue and the cost of sales. And the revenue will typically come from multiple channels. And then the cost of sales is then broken down into different cost buckets. And finally, finance data is typically multidimensional, and it not only includes actual performance data, but forecast data, budget data, and performance data from prior years, which are all used as a means of comparison. And this makes it actually really complex to actually approach in Tableau. So, Klaus, how can we overcome some of these challenges and visualize this data more effectively? Are you okay to take it from here? Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I will share my screen. Okay, just a second. Okay, thank you, Sarah. So Sarah already talked about the challenges with visualizing financial data, and I want to focus now a little bit on specific challenges when visualizing financial data in Tableau. And before I will show some examples, I would like to talk a little bit about one specific challenge, and this is handling the subtotals in Tableau. So Sarah introduced the general concept. We have one-step, two-step P&L statements. And in a two-step P&L statement, we are showing subtotals and that show the cumulative profit after certain groups of positions, I would say. And I think we hope we all agree on including the subtotals in the data is not a solution. So we want to work with the granular data, but nevertheless show the subtotals that a CFO, for example, would always want to see in a P&L statement. Yeah, and I know, there is a lot you can do in Tableau. We can create almost anything in Tableau you can imagine, but handling these subtotals in a P&L is actually quite a challenge. And this is something that I would like to show you in my first demo now. I will provide the workbook with all my examples later, and Johnny, I think, will share the link with you all. So I'm working with some sample data here. I created this accounting sample data set, and this is what a typical accounting data set looks like. You can see it here as my dimensions. I've got an account hierarchy, I would say. So starting with an actual account, the account can be provided to a type of account. In this case, the account 8000 to 8003 are new vehicles. All the types are assigned to a position. The position is assigned to a group, and a group is assigned to a subtotal. Then we have different dates, different report dates, and this is basically all. So now let's create a P&L. You see my account hierarchy here, and let's start with the subtotal, then add the position, and this is maybe enough. We don't want to see this on account level for a normal P&L. Then filter down the data to a specific report date. Let's take the 31st of December. And then we have the current year data and the prior year data. So this is by, here I'm just aggregating the granular data on position level. And now I would like to see the subtotals. And therefore, first of all, let me add the grand total. Oops. And this is the net income for the current year, 7.6 million, and the net income for the prior year, 10.8 billion, I think it is in this case. Now let's also see the subtotals. So subtotals, this subtotal would be the gross profit, this subtotal would be the EBIT, the EBT, and the net income. And we all know how to do this. Add all subtotals. Let's decrease the size a little bit. Okay, here we are. And now you can see what happens. So these subtotals are just summing up the positions of the respective subtotal. So this minus 22 million or billion, I don't know, is just the sum of these positions. And how to fix this? So we have to accumulate all the positions above this total, and for this subtotal, again, we have to accumulate all the positions above. And there is a trick to do this, which is quite easy. Let me also add the difference between current year and prior year. And what we have to do is to make this a running total. Let me do this for all three measures. Make it a running total, and then compute using the subtotal. And also for my difference. So now this is what a proper P&L, I would say, look like, and what CFO would like to see. We can now get rid of the grand total, and this is a P&L. Now we have this total, so I'm not really satisfied with that. So let's get rid of this label. So make it blank and maybe put this at the bottom, and we can work with row banding a little bit. Let's get rid of this row banding and show some color for the totals instead. Yeah, so this could be a first version, I would say, for a P&L with our subtotals, with the gross profit, with the EBIT, the EBT, and the net income. Yeah, there are some shortfalls with this solution. So normally you would want to see the subtotal in line with the positions. That's not possible here because if I would type in gross profit at this place, I would see gross profit all over the table, which is obviously not what we want. The second problem with this solution is we are not really able to add margins, for example. Calculating margins is something that we accountants do all the time. So in this table, I would normally take the revenue, which is the divider for my margin, by this table calculation. So calculate a lookup and take the first value, which is the revenue. And when I add this, you can see that this lookup won't work for the subtotals. So this is why we cannot create margins within this approach. Okay, good. Then let me demo a second version. And in this second version, I'm using a densified data set. And a densified data set means, yeah, I'm using the technique data densification. And this actually means in this case that I'm just bringing in my sample data one more time. So I have my original table, P&L sample, and I brought it in another time. This is PL sample 1. Then I've created a dimension copy where I'm referencing the table name and just make it 1 for the P&L sample and 2 for the P&L sample 1 to just be able to easier reference it in my formulas. Let's show the header. Okay, this is 1, copy 2. Okay, good. Then I've created a new position, position dimension, where I'm now defining different values for my copies. So when I'm using copy 1, I want to show the position. And when I'm using copy 2, I want to show my subtotal. And I'm bringing this in on rows. First, I'm just seeing my positions already with the subtotals. Then let me add my copy to give it some structure and my subtotal. Okay, so this is the basic structure we want to have. Let's increase the size a little bit. Having my, for each subtotal, let me show this header. I'm now having 2 copies. So for the gross profit, my copy 1 is showing the positions and my copy 2 is showing the gross profit. Then I've prepared my measure because we have to show different things depending on which copy we are in. For the copy 1, I'm showing just the sum, the aggregation of the current year-to-date data. And for my copy 2, which is showing the subtotal, I'm building the running sum, and I have to divide it by 2 because we have the table twice in the view here. Before I do that, let me filter down my data to a specific date. Again, let's go to the 31st of December and then bring in my current year value and my prior year value, which I created the same way. And you can see now that we have the P&L table that we would like to see, with properly named subtotals here, the gross profit, the EBIT, the EBT, and the net income. We can then hide the copy and the subtotal dimension. And again, maybe we can do some formatting, and especially the row banding is important here. So we go to the second level based on copy, and we are coloring the second copy here with a shade of gray to be able to see the subtotals, or to draw the attention to the subtotals. Yeah, these are 2 techniques to deal with the subtotal problem, and yeah, they are quite easy to implement. And to sum this up, maybe what wouldn't work is just doing the normal aggregation and show some kind of totals, like here on the left side. It could work with table calcs with some shortfalls for margin. We have seen that. and for the labeling of the totals. And yeah, with data densification, you're much more flexible with the labeling of the subtotals. And to switch back, we could now also do this margin stuff. I've created, I think, the revenue of the year to date again, just to demo. Here I'm taking my current year measure and I do again the lookup and say, give me back the first. And when I bring in that now, I have the revenue in each line of my table. And I could then use this revenue to create the current year in percent of sales. I show you the formula. So I'm taking the current year to date measure and divide it by the revenue. And then we have these nice margins. Let's make it a percentage that we always want to see. We accounting people always want to see when we look at P&L data. Okay, good. So this maybe yeah, regarding the first challenge that we are facing when visualizing financial data within Tableau. Good. Yeah, then let's focus a little bit more on P&L statements. Sarah has already introduced what P&Ls look like in the wild, and what I would like to do now is to reimagine what they could look like instead. I think Sarah has introduced some of the techniques that we can use. Maybe keep the tabular view in the first place and then add some visual elements. And I've also created some more experimental visualizations, I would say, that we can take a look at later. So let's maybe start with a basic visualization that is usable for daily work. Yeah, in the first place. So Sarah introduced the scale challenge, the scaling challenge, and one way to deal with this could be a horizontal waterfall chart that is showing the absolute change. Yeah, like in this case, this waterfall is showing how the change of each position had an impact on the overall profit. Yeah, starting here at the revenue, we saw an increase of 3 billion. This is positive, has a positive effect on net income. The increase in cost of sales, on the other hand, had a negative impact. And we are seeing here the red line, which is the 0, and see overall we had a decrease in net income of 3.2 million. Let me show you how to do this in Tableau. And again, I'm starting here with my basic table, with my basic P&L table in my densified data densified solution. Yeah, you can more or less easily add this kind of waterfall to the table. And therefore, I'm first bringing in my measures to rows and make them discrete. This looks a little bit fuzzy in the first place, but we will deal with that later. So this is the basic P&L. And then I take my my bridge, which is just the difference of the current year and the prior year. And remember, we are in the we have densified data. Therefore, we again have to adjust this bridge depending on the copy we are in. And for the first copy, remember these are the positions. We show the running sum, the cumulative difference between current year and prior year. And for the second copy, we already have the accumulation. We just show the difference between this and that position. Okay, so bring this on columns. This will give us some bars. And then for the waterfall, we have to switch this to Gantt bar. And we bring the bridge on size with a negative sign. And this is not looking good yet. I have to adjust my my table calculations for the bridge, and we have the position at the top, and yeah, calculate this running sum for every by position and subtotal for each copy of my data. Yeah, so this is already looking good. Then let's make it a little bit bigger. I've also prepared some a color dimension where I say for my subtotals, I want them to be a gray, and each subtotal can be identified by the copy. And for the other positions, when the bridge, the difference is greater than 0, then I want it to be blue, and else red. And let me put that one on color. And we're already there. Maybe put the bridge on label to show the difference. And that's almost it. Then do a little bit of formatting, right align the current year and the prior year. And again, very important, the row banding, go back to the second level to just color the subtotals. Okay, we can do a little bit more formatting here, but that's basically it. Yeah, so we have our basic P&L table, and now this horizontal waterfall showing the absolute change over time. Okay, so this is a nice one. Sarah also introduced spark lines. This would be something you could do as well. And what I always like to do is to have this in one view. Obviously, you could just bring in more sheets on a dashboard, but with this technique, you can just have one view, and you don't have to worry about strange things happening on your dashboard when the data changes or something like that. Okay, good. Yeah, so these are basic tables with some visual elements. Tableau legend Andy Kriebel, for example, has created his personal take on P&Ls, and this what you can see here now. This is more like a scorecard style viz. So we're going a little bit away from the tables now. This great work by Andy tackled some of the challenges that Sarah has described earlier. You might lose a little bit of the overall impression of a P&L, but you get a detailed analysis for each position showing trends over time here with this little spark lines, comparison to budget here with the bullet chart, and some nice big numbers that show the most important information at a glance. Another example I would like to show to you is this one that I created, I think somewhere last year, and this is again a waterfall chart. And in this waterfall chart, I'm again using I tried to visualize Deutsche Bank's losses in 2019, and the horizontal waterfall chart this vertical waterfall chart here at the top transforms the revenues on the left side to the loss on the right side. I have some vertical reference lines that indicate the subtotals of this P&L, and little spark bars here in this case that show the trend over time of the respective position. And then there are waterfalls here at the bottom part that show the change over time to have this information in it as well. Another one I've created last year, I think, is this flow chart again on Daimler. So they were lucky that I'm taking their data to experiment a little bit with that. And yeah, this visual, this flowchart. So some people were quite excited on social media about this, because this is something that we don't see that often with financial data. So it shows a P&L flowing from the revenues at the top to the net profit at the bottom of the chart. And this was inspired by a chart originally created by data viz superstar Nadi Bremer from the Netherlands. I've also added trends over time here in this section, and some ratios here on the right side. Yeah, because this is something that we accountants do all the time when we look at P&L data, at least I do. And as you can imagine, I was quite excited. Now I have to switch back to PowerPoint. Wait a second. I was quite excited when I saw Liam Spencer posting a rebuild of my Sankey style P&L some month ago. And when we chatted about the pain it took us to create this, we eventually agreed on creating a template to allow other users to do this as well. And what we were trying to do is to create this kind of flowchart for a P&L. And we started with just a basic Excel table, having some dimensions like an entity, the year, a level, indicating the different subtotals of the P&L with a name and the name of a position and a current year and a prior year measure. So we started here from this and created this one. So this we called it squared Sankey P&L. And this again, just using the techniques that I've just introduced. So we're using table calculations and data densification. And yeah, the table calculations almost drove us crazy, but we did it in the end. And I'm providing a workbook on my Tableau public profile with the template, and we can take a look at this. Yeah, this is quite some fun, at least for me it was, to play with this. So you can just take the Excel file, bring in your data, and then you can customize this flow using a bunch of parameters. So for example, you can decide on which side you want to kick in or out the inflows. So this case from the left side. We can change the height of the subtotals. So these are the black parts. We can bring some space between the lines. We can increase or decrease the length of the ladle lines. So quite some variations you can do here. Yeah, and this was fun, as you can imagine. Okay, so just download it from my Tableau public file and adjust the values in the Excel file, and you can create your own squared Sankey P&L. Okay, good. So last thing I want to talk about today is drill downs. Drilling down is I think very important when we talk about financial data, because a P&L, for example, is a very aggregated view, and seeing changes in a P&L, when we see changes in a P&L, we want to learn about this change and where it comes from. And we've talked about the hierarchies in accounting data, and this is something we can visualize in Tableau very well. And there are different ways to do this. We could use Tableau's inbuilt hierarchy feature. You've seen that in my data too. Or we could bring in a bunch of quick filters to maybe narrow down the view to a specific account. Or, and that is what I would recommend, is to implement a pretty simple drill down technique, and this is the view. So the idea is to allow the user to find her or his own path through the analysis. And again, we're starting on a very aggregated level. We see about the changes in gross profit, in overhead, in financial profit, in taxes, and in the overall net income. And what we can now do is just to click into a position and drill into that. So we see the change in gross profit comes from revenue and cost of sales. When we click on revenue, we learn about the accounts or the group of accounts that drove this change. Then we have some kind of breadcrumb navigation to go back and just to dig into it again on a different path to learn about this variance. And this is actually quite easy to do. Let me show that to you too. So I'm in my undensified data, and again I prepared some of the calculations. We actually need 4 calculations. And 2 parameters. Let me start with the parameters. We have the level parameter, which is just an integer parameter, and we're starting with a value of 0. And we have a path parameter, which is a string parameter, and the starting value can be any. I've just typed top into this one. Then we need 4 fields, 4 dimensions. First one is the level, a drill down level dimension, and this one will be later used in my parameter action to change the level that is shown in the view. Yeah, and it's basically showing here when the level is 4, which is the lowest level of my hierarchy, then switch back to the highest level. And for all other levels in this hierarchy, just add another step to drill 1 step deeper. The hierarchy I'm actually talking about is this one, defined in my DD drill down label dimension. Here I'm saying, depending on the level parameter, which dimension to show for the respective step of this hierarchy. The third one is a dimension that will feed my parameter, my path parameter. And again, when we are at the end of the hierarchy, we start over again. And for all other steps, levels of this hierarchy, we are using the existing parameter and just add the label of the actual or the current level of the hierarchy. And the fourth one is the filter one. I won't dig into this one. So this actually keeps only the relevant values in the view. And then just let's put this together. We're starting with the level. Then let's bring in the label and the path. Then maybe some of the measures, again, the current year and the prior year, and make this, I could have done this before, make this discrete like we did it in our waterfall example, make this discrete and bring in the difference on columns to again make it a waterfall chart, create the running total, bring difference again on size with a negative sign and change it to the Gantt bar. Okay, so this is again the waterfall. We could also put this on color and just make it a Boolean. So we have, there we are. Let's make these ones red and the positive ones blue. And we're there. So this is basically all we have to do. I'm just hiding my header now, and I don't want to see this path field. And we are almost there. Last thing to do is to set the actions we need. And these are actually two ones. The first one is the level or the action that changes the level parameter. So I've referenced here the level parameter and the DD level dimension we've just talked about, and the aggregation is an average. And the second action is the path action. So I'm changing the path parameter using the path dimension. And that's basically all. And what we can do now is to click a position. Now I've made one mistake. So we have still all positions in the view because I forgot to bring in the DD filter dimension. So keep only the true values, and then we are within our overhead positions. In this case, we can just click through and see selling, operational expenses, personal expenses, learn about the operational expenses on account level until we are on the deepest level of this hierarchy. And by clicking one more time, we're back at the top on subtotal level. Okay, yeah, that's basically it. I hope you you learned some new techniques today in my demos. As I said, I will provide the workbook on my Tableau public profile, and I will now hand over to Sarah to wrap it up.
Thank you, Klaus. If you can just go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So just to recap then, you've really inspired me, Klaus. Every time I watch you present, it always makes me want to get in and visualize some finance data, which is really saying something. But I'm hopeful the audience has been inspired too. You've shown us that there's really a lot of ways and techniques we can apply to visualize our finance data more effectively. Now, before we all go away and build like Sankey diagrams and all these other kind of crazy chart types, we really first need to consider our stakeholders' needs. So we could build them the most beautiful visualization, the most fancy table, but in some cases, all they need is something basics. And if we provide them with something that's really elaborate, they may not even use it. They may just go back and use their traditional tables. So always bear that in mind and work with your stakeholders to create these things with them and understand what they really need to see. Try and take away some of the techniques we showed you around enriching the tables with some simple visual elements, because they can really help bring your data to life. Before, also try and add some visual elements carefully. So we can use the waterfalls like Klaus showed us to help explain the difference in changes between two periods, and spark lines can be really useful in adding that additional context and actually showing trends of how our data is changing over time. The drill down technique is really useful. It allows that intuitive click-through analysis without using filters. You could also use a drill down technique using something like set actions, which allows your users to drill into the data as well. I'm actually doing that at the moment with a client. So they're looking at sales data and they want to see data initially at a category level, but be able to drill in and then see that subcategory analysis as well. So the drill down technique can be really useful if you don't want to show everything all at once and just kind of drip feed that information. And try and create something eye-catching. You know, everything is possible. As Klaus has shown you, there's so many different things you can do to kind of make your finance data more interesting and more visual. And Klaus has blog posts on all of the things, pretty much, I think, that he's gone through today. So you can actually take that and apply it to your own data. So thank you for joining us. I hope it's been useful. Klaus, I think we've got one more slide with our contact details on. If you can go there, thank you. So yeah, if you want to reach out to us or check out our blogs, please do. All the information is on the screen now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you both very much. Fascinating stuff, and I hope everybody got as much from it as I did. I look forward to trying to create some of those charts. It might take me a little bit longer. But brilliant stuff. A couple of questions in, if I can just take you through them. Sorry, it looks like I'm looking away, but I'm just going to another screen here. We had one in from, excuse me, Rob. Oh yeah, Rob Carroll. Any good resources you would recommend to learn more about the lookup functions? That could be either Klaus or Sarah.
The one thing that comes to mind is perhaps Tableau Tim's YouTube channel. So he's got a lot of YouTube videos on some of these techniques, and he presents them in a really easy to understand way. So I'll definitely check those out. Lookup can be a bit of a nightmare of a function. I've had lots of fun and games with that recently. So yeah, try and check out some of those resources. Even just the Tableau website have some kind of walkthroughs of that as well. But other than that, nothing springs to mind. I don't know if you know of anything else, Klaus.
But lookup obviously is very powerful, so I would encourage you to learn more about it. I think I read a lot on Jonathan Drummy's blog, so he has some posts on table calculations, and I think also on lookup. Yeah, so the obvious sources.
Yeah, Jonathan Drummy's great for anything table calculation related. He's like the master of all things table calc, so definitely check out his content.
Great. Okay, there's one other one here from Ida O'Keefe. Hi Ida, how are you keeping? So when Klaus talks about data densification, does this mean a copy of the table?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually right. So I have my table and I just do a union with my table to bring it one more time.
Okay, great. Okay, that clarifies that. Brilliant. I'm just going to see if there's any other ones here. Just bear with me because there's a few coming in now. Thanks, David. I think Klaus has a blog post on. Yeah, you were saying, Sarah, Klaus has a blog post on densification.
I think he might have. I think, yeah.
Can you confirm or deny that, Klaus?
I can confirm that. I will share with you when you send out an email. I will provide some links to the relevant blog posts on my website.
Cool in the gang. Yeah. So Leah Tan has also asked, is there a recording of the video? And yes, there is. That'll be on Tableau's YouTube channel in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, I'd say. The best thing to do in that is you can keep an eye on their YouTube channel, but also you can follow the Information Lab Ireland's LinkedIn page, and I'll be posting some pictures there, depending on what I get, but I'll post the link to the video there. So it's just the Information Lab Ireland, so you can go to that and follow us there, and we keep that updated regularly around the Tableau user groups that we're organizing here. And that there's lots of thanks coming in. Bart Jutta saying thanks, very inspiring. Solvita, thank you. Palak Khanna from India, who's one of the first people to join us. Thanks, Klaus, Sarah, and Johnny. Great session. Louise, thanks so much. Andre from the Netherlands, where can we find an extensive demo accounting database?
One for Klaus.
So I've actually come across some, but I'm not able to share any at this moment. I will take a look and maybe share a link later with you, Johnny.
Okay, great stuff. All right. Also, Ryan is wondering, any chance you could share the CSV file you had to use off your dashboard, Klaus?
Which one? Which dashboard?
I'm not sure.
Are they downloadable on Tableau Public?
Yeah, they're all downloadable on Tableau Public. So when you download the TWX workbook, you can just unzip the
CSV.
Yeah, and you can just unzip it, and then the CSV or Excel file should be in it.
Okay, that's great. Okay, brilliant. David Okaneja, yes, thank you, Zens. Learned something from you as always. Loved it. Thanks a million. Informative session. Thanks a lot. I'm just scrolling through here, guys, just to see if there's any more questions for you. Not sure there is right now. So basically, just a quick reminder before everybody goes that Louise Shorten and Katie Kilroy will be having an event in mid-April, Data Plus Women. So they had their first one in January, all right? So they'll be having their second one in April. So again, I'm going to post just in the chat here a link so you can sort of subscribe to that news user group detail. They're great user groups, really. So I'll post that in the chat there, so you can, if you're interested in joining that, or indeed speaking at it, you can do so. All right. So that'd be great. One final thing that I'm going to ask is that, and this is a little bit twee, a little bit cheesy, but if you don't mind me asking, I'm going to ask everybody to switch on their cameras. All right. So for posterity, and when we look back at this time in history, this strange time in history, that we can take a photograph of us doing virtual meetings, so we can look back and sort of shake our heads when we come back to doing real meetings and real Tableau user groups, and we'll go, God, did we have to do that? And we'll be able to show our kids and our grandkids and all of that kind of thing, what they were like. All right, so it's great. It's also great to see you all. All right, so it's brilliant, and I really, it's lovely to be able to put faces to the names from all over the world. That's what's been brilliant about these user groups. It has to be said. It is obviously the ideal is to meet people in person and chat to them and network and all that kind of thing. But I tell you, being able to have people speak from Germany and the UK and, you know, the United States, as we had the last time, and Italy and all sorts of things, is fantastic. So it's one of the things that's really been a benefit. So look, I think I'm going to leave it there, and I'll ask everybody just to give a wave and say thanks to Sarah and Klaus for that presentation, which was absolutely fantastic. Also, if any of you ever want to speak at these events, you know, and you have ideas, please get in touch. We love to hear from you. I again will post in the chat details about that, of how you can get in touch. But in the meantime, I think we'll call it a day, unless Sarah, Klaus, you have anything else that you want to add.
Just thank you for having us, Johnny. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. Hopefully one day I'll come over to Dublin and I'll present in person when things are more normal.
That is absolutely nailed on, and you can guarantee we would love to have you over here. You've been over here before, haven't you?
I haven't, no, and I'm actually I'm quarter Irish, so my grandfather was from Dublin, so
really,
I've never been. I'd love to come over.
That's terrible. We'll give you citizenship and everything. And
well, I'm going. I want to get it. I'm going to get it at some point.
If your grandfather's Irish, are you any good at football? We're desperate for footballers. No, okay.
You just right. Klaus.
Klaus is the man.
Maybe from my side, likewise, thanks for having us. I would have preferred to come to Dublin too.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, we'll get the two of you over, and we'll for a bit of a shindig, and we'll have a couple of pints and that kind of thing after the event, of course. Great stuff, guys. I will leave it at that, and sincere thanks to everybody for tuning in. Talk to you again.
Thank you.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye.
I'll let everybody go first. I'll be the good host and wait until the end. Great.